Audio 5, EEP 32, The Glory of Human Life. Next topic, Simple Living, High Thinking. The first step to proceed along the righteous path of enlightened progress in life is observance of austerity in every walk of life. The avarice of name, fame, and possession of more and more wealth and worldly resources blocks one's forward movement on the path of ascent. The intoxication of arrogance and bragging is said to be the worst and strongest kind of intoxication. One hardly gets even a glimpse of that joy and content for which he keeps piling and showing off the elaborate possessions, powers, and celebrity. Rather, he faces the contrary by inviting jealousy and suspicion of people in acquaintances. How could one who flies high and flaunting gets the shared company of his friends and colleagues? What enjoyment one would get by eating lavish sweets while surrounded by those who are starving for simple meals. This insensitivity would only gather others' fury and scorn for him. This kind of arrogant, opulent lifestyle would often encounter extortions, thefts, and even murderous attacks. The golden principle of simple living and high thinking is the best mode in this regard. The true glory, dignity, and respect of human life flourishes with adoption of this simple discipline. Simple living means a naturally soothing, austere lifestyle, devoid of luxurious possession and pressures of extravagant habits. The honest lifestyle of an average Indian standard could be of a good measure in this regard. Else we would not be able to keep track of what means and resources we possess or use are really necessary and correct and what are not. We have to analyze our needs on this yardstick, else the force of Trishna will make it almost impossible to identify what is justifiable and what is not. People driven by Trishna dream and die for wealthy possession like Kuber. They can't even imagine how a common middle-class man lives a duty-bound moral life. Their blind intellect does not mind following unjust means like those of the smugglers and corrupt criminals. According to the discipline of simple living and high thinking, we will have to limit our desires with an objective that all the resources gifted by nature could be amicably shared by all, least for the self and maximum possible for the others, for altruist purposes, is the essence of this ideal. We may at least attempt it in part by reducing our needs, prudent vigil over our mode of living and tendencies, hard work, and average standard of living by common Indian standard could help us save a lot of time and other resources for welfare deeds. This is what defines the basis of the divine culture of everlasting peace and unalloyed happiness. Next topic. Renounce meanness to taste the nectar of magnanimity. If we want to follow the eminent path of achieving the majestic goals of human life, we ought to eliminate our vices, flaws, and evil assimilation. This tyaga is the basis of tradition of Rishi culture. Not only the Rishis or the Buddhas and Gandhis, but every aspirant of noble elevation also has to begin from this first step. The principles of tyaga and vairagya emphasized in the Sastric scriptures for the glorious ascent of human life indeed signify and effectuate getting rid of the debasing force of Trishna, which hinders engaging the mind and body in noble endeavors. All attempts of refinement and rise would be meaningless and futile like the rigid walk unless its influence is allayed. The whims and the daydreaming of illumined progress in this case might entertain or give us some false satisfaction, but would lead nowhere unless we renounce the wrong, the evil, and prepare for adopting noble virtues by ascetic endeavors. We will have to firmly choose only one of the two mutually exclusive modes. First, narrow and perverted attitude and mean and malignant life, or noble thoughts and sentiments and great life endowed with piety, austerity, and virtuous sincerity. Evils and declining forces appear very attractive initially, but spread their insidious effects like slow poison and lead to tragic and disastrous end. The adoption of morality and noble path of welfare works like enduring germination of a healthy seed. It gradually sprouts, grows into robust trees, and blossoms at the right time. The ignorant, immature, short-sighted fellows are lured by instant benefits and charms. They set live examples of how the greedy fishes are caught by the fishing hook, or the eager birds get entrapped in the net of a fowler. The thoughtful assiduity and consistent efforts of a farmer, sincere student or honest professional, etc., on the other hand, brings increasingly success and evince that sincerity, patience, and hard work devoted for good aims are the secrets of lasting happiness. The path of austerity and prudent thinking is open for all, and certainly offers gratifying and brightening results to everyone. This mode of life ensures the welfare of the individual self as well as of the society. This altruist conduct gradually endows the inner domains of life with immense content and joy, and enriches the external fronts by respect and benevolence from all directions. The sincere transaction of our duties as the sincere and diligent guards and gardeners of thy gardens spread in this world and showers divine rewards and beatitudes. Next topic. Come out of the hell, experience the heaven in your life. When we fall from our levels as humans and get entrapped in the vicious cycle of Vashna, Trishna, and Ahanta, we tend to do all that which is not expected of human nature and even turn ourselves into beasts or ghosts living in the human body. This perverted thinking and conduct results in the horrible physical and mental diseases and also brings disrepute, disgust, and suspicion from all fronts. Suppressed by the declining forces, the heart remains scorched in the heat of repenting. The fear of punishment from the government and the society against the misdeeds and the doubts of revenge, the sufferers horribly frighten every moment and destroy all peace and rest. This makes the life a virtual hell full of stinking agonies. Anyone who undergoes this torment should ponder over the real cause. Accept our mistakes and evils and analyze the moral ways of rescue from the malicious cycle. Deep thinking and sincere confession will make it clear that the root lies in the misconception of identifying the body as the self. Many of us perceive ourself as the body. Its needs, desires, and pleasures dominate our thinking and action. If left unnoticed, the passions trigger toward thoughts and incite us towards immoral, debased practices and compel us to bear the torturous circumstances like hell mushroom thereby. There is only one way of liberation and protection from this haze, and the key lies in the righteous orientation of our attitude, our conviction, and aspirations. This enlightenment also opens up the path of receiving the nectar of heaven in the same life. This change should first begin with our conceptualization and consideration of our own self. We must understand that the physical body is only a tool available to us. We, in reality, are a spiritual power endowed with a fraction of divinity. Our hidden virtues need to be aroused and expanded accordingly. Our thoughts, tendencies, desires, aims, all should also be coherent with our graceful origin, and our deeds should comply with the duties and responsibilities assigned by the Almighty. Realization of the divine origin of the self and the endeavors of inculcating noble virtues and reorienting the attitude, line of thoughts, nature, and conduct, concordance arouse the miraculous power that can erect the edifice of heaven even in the filthy mire of the hell. On this basis, Saint Emerson used to say, "Send me to hell, and I will create heaven there too." While deprived and malign thinking pushes one into torturous circumstances of the hell, the positive, enlightened, altruist thinking opens up the glorious path to heavenly bliss, peace, and progress in every dimension of life by corresponding effects on one's actions. Following a straight, well-illuminated road eliminates the chance of missing. Similarly, righteous orientation and piety of thought elevates the untoward passions and fears and thus removes the forces of decline. Adoption of edified attitude, thoughts, and conduct through the depths of the heart is the secret of divine life in human body. God expects this dignified status of mankind. Every father wants and expects his child to maintain and expand the tradition and prestige of his ancestry. God also aims that thy beloved prince, the human being, would cultivate the seed of divinity sown in his inner self and live in the illuminated thoughts emanated thereby and follow a life worth its dignity, which will also erect a world of beatified beauty and bliss. This is what is the ultimate goal for which God has created human beings as the masterpiece of thy art in this world. Next topic. Take care of the present. Whatever has gone in the past is gone. Even if that was disappointing, untoward, or disgraceful, there is always a hope in the present that whatever is now available would be optimally taken care of and used positively to rectify or overcome the past damage. There is nothing wrong in turning back after recognizing the mistaken path ahead. One has to begin the counting afresh if he is lost or commits an error in the earliest round of counting. Adoption of the good, the righteous, with a new enthusiasm is so inspiring that it could be effectively employed to uproot the flaws and vices that dominate the past phase of life. If one determines and strives hard to refill the ditch that was dug up in the past, he can get the plain land to construct a new edifice or to cultivate fresh crop. Once the mind is enthused by the inner exhilaration to rise and brighten up, sooner or later one also finds the depth modes of its materialization. It is said that where there is a will, there is a way. If our determination to elevate is clear and firm, it certainly gears up in action without much delay. The long hands of thy support and protection are always available to one who endeavors enlightened ascent of life. Thy hands also rescue even the sunk one, the moment the latter feels an intrinsic urge to be emancipated and tries for it through all his strength. Those dedicated towards the divine goals of life never risks devolution or illusionary perturbation. The history of humane dignity is shining with ample examples of such glorious lives, which also illustrate the super force of the radiant inner will. There was nothing supernatural or divine in the early lives of Jesus Christ, Buddha, Gandhi, Vivekananda, Dayanand, etc. But as the world has witnessed, once they vowed through the depths of their hearts to follow the virtuous path of moral ascent and preeminence of humanity, God bestowed unlimited strength and support upon them. Thy light eased their hurdles, elevated their adversities, gathered necessary resources and support, and enabled accomplishment of their devout endeavors with angelic epochal impact. The seemingly impossible pledge of Bhagirath also materialized in reality by thy grace and brought the holy Ganges flow on the Indian soil. His devotion, total sacrifice, and absolute tapsadhana dedicated to the noble cause of invoking the heavenly currents of holy Ganges to enshower the exlayer of sacred salvation to all beings invited thy beatitude with infinite force. Ganges is therefore also revered as Bhagirathi, the daughter of Bhagirath, on this earth. Hanuman and Arjun also reached the ultimate realms of thy devotion because of their complete dedication to the altruist path of divine duties. Immortal personalities like the Dichi, Harishchandra, etc. too have been blessed by thy boons after following the path of ascent with the dignity of human life. It is only this eternal truth that also works behind the amazing riddhis, siddhis attained by the great yogis, tapasvis, and rishi munis. Next topic. Don't miss the golden chance at the doorstep. An exceptional opportunity with miraculous promises available to us these days in the unique juncture of the change of the era with the unfolding of the new millennium. Thy Creator himself has taken direct charge of setting the clock right and bring back the order and the hope of liberation in this crucial phase of all-round pollution, disastrous follies of mankind, and threatening decline. The phased implementation of thy project has already commenced. The world would witness materialization of its major parts with the progression of the 21st century. This is indeed the rarest chance to dedicate full cooperation and contribution in thy plane and attain the paramount beatitude that in the Ramayana age was acquired by Kevat, Shabari, Jatayu, and tiny squirrel, monkey, apes, and bears. In spite of their downtrodden status and insignificant capacities, they became immortal because of their total dedication in God's work. None of those who sacrifice themselves for divine purposes ever face any loss or repent. Rather, their righteous decision, their devout attempts are remarked in the annals of history and great honor and become precious models to be followed by all aspirants of glorious welfare in the present life and beyond. The recent examples in this regard include Rahul, the son of Yashodhara, and Mahendra, and Sanghamitra, the children of King Ashoka, who had devoted every breath of their lives for altruist welfare and expansion of the teachings of Buddha all over the world. What they accomplished in life could never be equated by any amount of wealth, prestige, and other achievements of the selfish and possessive lives of most of us. The same truth of divine success and angelic eminence by absolute dedication to divine virtues and sacrifice to the thy goals was expressed most vividly in the lives of Buddha and Gandhi. The ever-filled pot of the grain at the Jalaram Ashram in Gujarat is amazing evidence in this regard. It is not too far in the past when Saint Jalaram of Veerapur, Gujarat, had employed all his property, resources, and time for the welfare of the poor, downtrodden, and helpless masses. He was blessed by the divine boon that the stock of grains and food in his ashram will never reduce. Today the world is passing through the perilous phase when the inner as well as the outer domains of human life are maligned and enslaved by evil tendencies, devil mentality, terrorism, and beastly instincts, and deadly pollution and corruption. Each one of us is now expected to fight like Arjuna on both fronts, devastation of the devil and resurrection of the divinity in the gross and the subliminal domains of life. The alarming necessity of grand cleansing, stirring, and upright change needs more and more awakened, duty-bound, dedicated men and women who, like the Pandavas, intrepidly triumphed the Mahabharata of the present era. Divinity would also bestow everlasting omniscience on their dedicated lives. None of these endowed with some wisdom should fail in listening and understanding the call of thee and march ahead according in these historic moments. Destruction of the evils and the reconstruction of positive, virtuous, and altruist life is to be initiated from the personal and familial level and expanded at the social and global fronts. The possibility of permanent accomplishment of the invaluable human life exists every time for all of us. But this has been made most easily accessible and certain on this special occasion when Mahakal, the Supreme Lord of Eternity, has called for dedicated cooperation of mankind and induced unprecedented spiritual force for purification of the sublime environment of life. The Yug Nirman Yojana of the all-world Gayatri Parivar is dedicated to follow the call of thee at the gross fronts via motivating the mass movements of reformative and reconstructive endeavors at the personal, social, and national levels. All human across the globe can join this altruist mission and make best use of the rarest golden opportunity at the doorstep. The unique 12-year-long, 1988 to 2000, spiritual experiment of Yug Sandhi Mahapurush Charan was a divine endeavor accomplished by Gayatri Parivar under the angelic guidance and protection of its founder, Yug Rishi Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya. This, as per thy will, has contributed to the spiritual refinement of the sublime environment of life. The spiritual flow thus generated would endow immense boons on all those who have and who will link their inner self with the divine light by spiritual sadhanas and altruist transactions of their duties as human beings, the crown prince of the Almighty.